Hello and welcome to Oulton Park for the inaugural round of the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy, which includes TCR-UK. And ahead of the opening round, I caught up with a few of the drivers. And I also caught up with series promoter Stuart Lines. What's the thoughts then behind TCT?
Touring Car Trophy was to entice a load of cars that are redundant onto the track, and also maybe get some guys out there that can't afford to race in BTCC, so they can go and race in an environment where it's financially viable. That was the ethos of it. But with the TCR last year, where it wasn't a massive success, we were asked to join them together, which we've done, and we're just trying to offer a good platform for both cars to operate in. We're investing in more cars. We've got more people registered that couldn't make this weekend. You know, there's been a few things that have maybe tripped us up a little bit, but you know, our expectations are to get to 15 cars over the next couple of meetings. The teams that are here are top teams, you know, so we need to grow on that.
TCT with TCR-UK in it, it's a whole new ball game. It's a different sort of direction, but one that should hopefully build the TCR brand in the UK. Do you think the TCR-UK can work?
I absolutely hope so. I mean, I'd like to think that this TCT-TCR is a temporary fix to get both grids to somewhere where they can be independent and maybe even run the same meetings or whatever, but I really do hope so. The cost of touring car racing in the UK really needs to come down.
The car itself, tell us a bit about it.
So it is Rob's old touring car of Boston. It is the original Sherman. First time it hasn't been in its flame livery, as it's so famous for. He's mentoring, coaching me, because obviously he's taken a step back from racing this year with his family. He designed and built this car with this team. So yeah, what better person to have as a coach?
Well, the cars are on the grid and the drivers ready to go for the season opener. But before we catch a few words from the drivers, here's what happened in qualifying with our race commentator, Andy McEwen.
A 25-minute qualifying session determined the grid for the opening race of the day. On his touring car debut, Henry Neal set an early benchmark time of 1 minute 44.894 seconds aboard the Team Dynamics Honda Civic Type R, previously raced by his father Matt, the three-time British touring car champion. But 2 minutes later, 2018 TCR-UK vice-champion Ollie Taylor moved on to provisional pole by just 52 thousandths of a second. Forced to watch from the sidelines though, and sadly out for the day, was Lewis Kent.
We've only just found out in the recent hours that the crank inside the engine was broken, so if we had found that out yesterday, we could have had it fixed and been able to be out today, but unfortunately it isn't. We've still got 2 drop rounds we can use up, but yeah, hopefully at Donington we'll have a strong and healthy car and we'll be back on the pace.
Having set the fastest time in the morning's free practice session, Carl Swift posted back-to-back fastest laps to head the timesheets. Late in the session, Neal put in a terrific lap to go nearly 7/10 of a second quicker, and there was also a late improvement for Taylor in the Maximum Motorsport Cupra. So Neal, the top TCT class driver, starts from pole, with Taylor alongside as the best TCR-UK entrant. Carl Swift lines up third, with Chinese driver Sunny Wong fourth for Teamwork Huff, the squad run by former World Touring Car champion Rob Huff. Alex Day and Guy Colclough make up the third row of the grid.
So Henry, first race of the season and on pole.
Yeah, mate, it's everything and more I could have asked for, you know. Brand new car for this series, my first time out in it, so, you know, it's great to smack it on pole, and it's credit to all the Team Dynamics guys for the amazing car they've built. What is it like to drive this beast then? It's indescribable, mate. It's like a mini on steroids. Is the best way I can say it. It's just so planted. It does what you tell it to do. The most crazy thing about it is just the stopping power, you know. I think you go from 130 down to 30 miles an hour in 1.3 seconds, so it's like being on a bit of a roller coaster, but you're at the wheel.
Good luck.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
So Ollie, different car for you this year.
Yeah, moved to the Cupra. Bit of a last minute deal really to come in with Maximum Motorsport this weekend, but yeah, it's great to be on the grid, help the championship. So yeah, I feel I'm settling quite well to the car. It feels good. First thing's getting off the line. Obviously, I haven't done a race start in this car yet. Did a practice one in warm-up this morning, which I think was okay, but we'll see what happens when it gets to crunch time. But yeah, obviously Henry definitely going to be the main target. Hopefully get a good drag down to the first corner. Yeah, just try and get a good start and then see what unfolds.
Good luck.
Thanks very much.
Sonny, your first taste of TCR UK. Tell us a bit about that combination for teamwork and for Huff coming together.
We have been working with Rob Huff for some time. Since 2013, he has been involved in multiple projects in drivers development, race car developments, and he also raced. So we benefit a lot from his knowledge, but not only limited to driving knowledge, but also he brings in a good moral for the entire team, and his racing experience also help us to evolve into a more professional team as a whole.
Good luck out there and fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've heard the thoughts of some of the drivers there. We're already excited. It's time for the race. So let's go over to the race commentator, Andy McEwen.
So the first race of a new season then here at a bright and sunny Oulton Park. A good crowd on hand as well to watch this opening race of the 2019 Touring Car Trophy with TCR UK, and it is the Honda of Henry Neal that will start on pole position. The lights are out, we're away and racing in 2019. Not a great start for the pole sitter. Carl Swift here from the second row of the grid will leap into second position behind Ollie Taylor, who I think will grab the advantage into Old Hall Corner for the first time. Swift is second, and the rear-wheel drive Audi of Alex Day also overhauls Henry Neal and moves into third position, so not a great start there for the pole sitter. Henry may have been half a second quicker than anybody else in qualifying, but now he's got some real work on his hands to get back to the front of the pack. Through Cascade for the first time on board with Alex Day, looking at the youngster hard at work behind the wheel of this very popular Audi amongst the fans here this weekend. Heading down towards Island Bend, this very quick left-hander, one of the quickest left-handers in British motorsport, then hard on the brakes for Shell. Ollie Taylor not yet escaping at the front of the field here. Carl Swift is staying with him. Carl has shown some good pace all weekend, actually. Did every bit the match for Ollie, who of course is getting used to this Cupra. The first time that he has raced it in this championship, of course. He, last season, finished runner-up in the TCR UK Championship at the wheel of a Honda Civic. So down towards the Hislops complex then, and Henry Neal already starting to apply the pressure now to Alex Day. These are the top two Dunlop Touring Car Trophy runners in this race at the moment then. Alex ahead of Henry. That was a really good start from the Audi, as we sort of expected. The only rear-wheel drive car on the grid. They do tend to have a small advantage off the line, but based on qualifying pace, Henry should have the pace to overhaul the Audi in the near future. Not the easiest of circuits to overtake on though, Oulton Park, so Alex will get his elbows out and try to hang on to this overall podium position, and also, if he can, chase down the two Cupras in front of him. Ollie Taylor then out of Druids for the first time. Carl Swift hot on his heels for third place. We could be about to see a move made here by Henry Neal. And breaking into the right-hander at Lodge Corner. He's looking to the inside line. Alex Day didn't dare shut the door. He's on the dirty side of the road, runs out over the curb, and that, in the end, made Henry's job a little bit easier. He sweeps through into third position, forced the mistake there out of Alex Day, who is the less experienced of the two as far as his racing career is concerned. Henry is through now, and Alex will try and latch onto his tail and maybe pick up a few tricks of the trade around here. He's a bit by there, you can see he didn't want to turn in because Henry had his nose up the inside, rattles over those curbs. You can see what a bumpy ride that was, and Henry Neal moves ahead. Further back down the order, meanwhile, James Turkington has Guy Colclough for company as they round Cascade. Ollie Taylor, though, the race leader, is already up at Shell, working his way around this second lap of the race then, pulling a small gap now over Carl Swift, and that gap may be about to get a bit larger because Carl looks like he's starting to come under some pressure now from Henry Neal. Carl has to switch to more of a defensive driving style to keep the Honda at bay. That will hold them both up and possibly allow Ollie Taylor to pull clear down into Hislops. The Honda not quite close enough. Look at how strong it is under braking. Carries such speed into the corner. The tail end kicks out as he rattles over that severe curb on the apex. He gathers it all together nicely. This is the Turkington and Colclough scrap again. These two running pretty close together. The older shaped Seat Cupra in front of the TCR DSG car. It's running in the Touring Car Trophy though. It's not homologated to the current spec of TCR cars, and the DSG gearbox as well means the car's a little bit heavier than the cars that we're seeing at the front of the field here then. Taylor and Swift with Henry Neal well and truly with them now. Way through Lodge Corner, looks for the better exit, which he has got. Can he get up the inside towards Old Hall Corner? I think Carl Swift will see it coming. Moves to the right-hand side of the road as they sweep across the start-finish line. Henry Neal is forced to the outside line, which he will try to commit to. This is a brave move, but it can work if Carl gives him room. Carl sort of gave him room, but Henry still ended up over the curbs. Lost a bit of traction out of the corner, and so Carl Swift is still in front. This is a nice little battle between the two of them. We know that Carl is a real racer, and presented with the opportunity to maybe fight for an overall podium place here, he is not going to roll over and let Henry through without a fight. In this part of the circuit, it's a little bit more tricky to overtake, and that won't help either. Henry missing the apex through Island Bend, just drifts a bit wide, had to wait before he got back to full throttle. So Carl Swift, for the time being, hanging on to this second place, but by the skin of his teeth. Right now, he is Ollie Taylor's best friend, though, because the race leader is starting to scoot away now. You just catch a glimpse of Taylor there as they turn into the Britain chicane. Lots of curb used by both Swift and Neal. These cars are fairly well set up, though, over the curbs. They have to have a stable car underneath you at Oulton Park because you can find quite a lot of time from running over those curbs. This is, though, particularly in the early stages, you can do some damage to the tyres, but that does not seem to be a concern that Henry Neal has. He is still pushing on and really using every inch of the track available to him, on board with the Endurance Financial Cupra of Carl Swift in second position. There's Sunny Wong, the reigning Chinese TCR champion, who is running at the moment, I believe, in fourth place, just ahead of this fight for fifth, which is still ongoing. James Turkington can't shake off Guy Colclough, and Guy not yet having been able to find a way through, but I think if the opportunity presents itself, he's every bit quick enough to have a go at moving into the top five. Corner once again, another lap about to be in the books, and Henry Neal not quite as close to Carl Swift on this occasion. Now that might mean that Carl doesn't feel the need to defend into Old Hall Corner, but I'm not convinced that Henry is close enough to lunge. He thinks about it, takes a tighter line, but just can't quite prise that door open. He can afford to take his time sort of, though, because actually on that lap Ollie Taylor did not pull out quite as much of an advantage over the two behind. So if Henry just bides his time, this is a fairly long race, 25 minutes plus one lap, so he's got time to do this, he's got the speed to do this. The last thing he needs, though, is to get tangled up in a bit of contact here with Carl Swift, when right now a race victory is still very much a possibility. Blue Island again. Henry is looking at every braking point to get up the inside line. That car seems to be very strong under braking, and he gets a much better exit from Shell as well, because Carl Swift runs out wide, and this could be Henry Neal's opportunity. Goes to the right hand side of the road, sweeps across the bows of the Cupra and moves into second position, and that was really textbook racing there for Henry Neal. He was applying the pressure lap after lap, corner after corner, and eventually it told. Carl Swift just a bit too eager on the throttle, I think, out of Shell, ran over the curb, and Henry Neal is into second place. May well be bad news for Ollie Taylor. Here's the onboard view from Carl. You can see he gets over the curb, he takes out the plastic marker post as well, and that will spin the front wheels, losing traction, and that was just enough to allow Henry through. But I think once Henry had his nose in front, Carl decided against fighting that one too hard. Again, he does not want to risk any contact either, but Henry Neal is very sideways through Druids. That was a mega save, but it will cost him speed down towards Lodge. Is Carl Swift going to attack? He's going to try. Looks to the outside line, but Henry Neal, if you were doubting how hard he's pushing, we can see there just how hard he's pushing. He's sideways again now with dirt on the tyres, and this time Swift is alongside. He's on the grass as they come over Deers Leap, and Carl Swift might be about to go back into second place, into Old Hall Corner. Swift on the inside, Henry Neal on the outside. They break at pretty much the same point, and the Cupra goes back through. That was brilliant racing. Henry Neal, in his eagerness to go after Ollie Taylor, I think just pushed it a bit too hard through Druids, got a huge slide, and because he ran over the grass, the rear tyres were still dirty when he arrived at the braking point at Lodge, and it snapped sideways again. So all of that hard work now has to be redone by Henry Neal, and it's lost them both even more time to Ollie Taylor, who continues now to stretch his advantage out in front. Brilliant racing we're seeing here then between this NGT spec Honda Civic and the TCR spec Cupra, which again runs a bit wide at Shell, and this is Henry's next chance to move alongside. This is almost an action replay of what we saw a lap ago, but this time Carl Swift may be tempted to fight this one a bit harder. There's just nothing he can do though. Henry Neal is later on the brakes into Britons, and Carl Swift can take all of the curb and grass he likes, but I don't think he's going to be able to fight back, or is he? He's in the tow, and in a straight line there is nothing to choose between these two cars. It's just under braking where either Henry or Henry's car seems to have an edge. I'm inclined actually to believe this is simply Henry being a bit more committed under braking and not afraid to take a few risks. Replay here of the second time that Henry Neal took second place away from Carl Swift. He'll be hoping that's the last time that he has to overhaul number 45 Cupra. Ollie Taylor in the race lead as we move into the second half of this first race of the season. But Henry Neal is now hot on his heels. He has bridged the gap, having eventually overhauled Carl Swift, who you can just catch a glimpse of there in the background. This, though, is now the fight of the race for the race lead. Ollie Taylor and Henry Neal, they're already at the lead of their respective classes, so in a way, Henry doesn't need to really go for this, but I know he will because he is a racing driver. He's the son of a very, very successful touring car racer as well. Matt Neal, 3 times a British touring car champion. And Henry himself, I'm sure, will have picked up 1 or 2 of the tricks from his father. Never gives up. If there's a chance to gain an extra position, Matt will always go for it, and Henry certainly appears to have that mindset as well. He's really starting to show his nose now, trying to find a gap. But we saw that when he was dicing with Carl Swift for the 2nd position, it took him a while. In fact, even once he got past Carl, he wasn't able to hang on to it for that long. He may well have to try and force a similar mistake here out of Ollie Taylor, who himself is a little more experienced than Carl as well. He makes fewer mistakes, therefore. Ollie is still learning this car. He's raced it a couple of times before in other championships, but this is a different ball game altogether. Here's James Turkington, by the way. He's now sort of broken free of Guy Colclough. We believe Guy may have had a moment somewhere. He's still there, but he's dropped a few seconds back, and James now, who is the younger brother of another 3-time British touring car champion, Colin Turkington, James seems now to have that position pretty much in the pocket, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes himself. The leaders then through Lodge Corner. Ollie Taylor, the Maximum Motorsport prepared car, leading the way, but Henry Neal is there. Now, we've seen at times that the Honda maybe has an advantage under braking, and Ollie is well aware of that, so he moves over to the middle of the road to try and defend, but Henry Neal goes for it at the last second. That's a lovely move. There's a tiny bit of contact, but Henry Neal has prized the door open. Can Ollie Taylor stay there, though? The next corner is a left-hander, and Ollie Taylor might just be able to hang on to the inside line. Yes, he does. Well, I thought for a moment that Henry Neal had done it there, but Ollie Taylor tenaciously hung on. We saw this out of him several times last year as well. He does not back out, even when it looked like he's beaten the tiniest of taps there as Ollie tried to close the door, but Henry was committed and just nuzzled alongside the Cupra, which then falls straight back on board with Ollie. There's the touch. It wasn't a particularly severe one, but it was just enough to unsettle Henry Neal's Honda. Had he not got sideways, I think actually he may well have pulled clear, but Ollie Taylor was able to dive back down the inside of Cascade and hold on to the race lead. So, much as we saw in the battle for 2nd place between Henry Neal and Carl Swift, Henry got his nose in front at Old Hall Corner, only to lose it again a bit later on. Ollie Taylor using all of the curb there, 2 wheels right up in the air. That won't do the suspension much good, but right now Ollie knows that he needs to use every trick in the book to keep Henry Neal at bay. There's James Turkington, and there is Guy Colclough, who, as you can see, is still circulating, albeit a few seconds behind James now. And really, their lap times are pretty at the moment, so Guy Colclough not catching James Turkington. James Turkington's lap time's pretty consistent as well, so we'll monitor that gap throughout the rest of the race. Right now, this is the battle to keep an eye on. The race leader is back through Lodge Corner again now. The closing stages of what have been an intriguing opening race of the season. It's not over yet because Henry Neal is just as close to Ollie Taylor now as he was a lap ago. Ollie will maybe defend a little more vigorously this time. Yes, he does. He stays right down the middle of the road through Old Hall Corner. Henry will try and use the wider entry line to cut back on the exit, carries more speed down the avenue. But again, it's relatively easy to defend into Cascades. Ollie does just that. Again, drives down the middle of the road. Sensible driving now from Ollie. There's no need to run right down the inside of the track because that just holds you both up and opens the door on the exit of the corner. Moving over to the middle ground, that just deters Henry from fully committing to a move. You have to imagine, though, that Henry's going to have another go at this before the checkered flag falls. It would be a real honour for either of these drivers to take the first victory of the season. Neither of them wants to back down, and Henry Neal looks arguably the quicker of the two, but Ollie using his immense racecraft here, for the time being at least, to keep him behind. Again, both of them using all the curb through Britain's. It's a really important exit from the British chicane as well because you're accelerating steeply uphill over hilltop, and Ollie Taylor seemed to do that a little bit better than Henry on that occasion. Pulls clear of the Honda over the hill, and then the Civic is again later on the brakes. Fascinating battle this. 2 cars that from the outside look very similar but built to different regulations and therefore have different strengths and weaknesses. We've seen already from the onboards that in a straight line there is not really any difference, but through the corners that maybe is where the Honda has an edge. Watching Sonny on here as he slides his way through the Hislop chicane. He is running in 4th place, but still really going for it here as he tries to learn Oulton Park, a circuit that he has never raced at before, of course. So leaders down through Lodge Corner. Taylor again defends, and Henry Neal will try to use that to carry more speed out of the turn, but Ollie is surely wise to this move down at Old Hall Corner now. But he sweep over to the right-hand side of the road? Yes, he does. So there's no gap on the inside at the moment. Henry Neal to the outside and then lunges to the inside line and there's contact. Oh, they're both off into the barriers. Bang! Ollie Taylor is off. Oh, and Henry Neal's car flips onto its side. And that was the tiniest of touches as Henry Neal tried to commit to a late move up the inside. And it has disastrous results for the pair of them. They're both out of the race. And Carl Swift, remarkably, inherits the race lead. What drama here in the closing stages at Oulton Park. And there's even more luck because James Turkington is slowing now. And Guy Colclough is going to move into what will now become second place in TCT. That is very, very bizarre, the end to this race. We did not see that coming. But James Turkington also with his own problems. And I wonder whether that car is heading for the pit lane. It seems to have slowed down significantly. Nothing obviously wrong with the car, but he is slowing and he is pulling into the pit lane. Ollie Taylor, though, that's good news. He's out of his car. He's okay, albeit a bit miffed, I'm sure. Henry Neal, likewise, has clambered out of the Honda with great difficulty, I'd imagine. But good to see that the cars have done their jobs and kept them both safe. Right, let's take a look at this. There was a gap at first, but Ollie just was always going to turn into the corner. Henry just briefly tagged the right rear corner of the Cooper, and I think that broke the steering on the Honda. And from then on, the barrier was looming for both of them. It was a huge hit there, particularly for Henry Neal. On board with Ollie. See, he's down the middle of the road and then bang, the first contact, the second contact, and then the biggest hit of the lot. Thankfully though, the Recticel barriers there, those foam barriers that protect the cars from the tyre wall, doing their job to limit the size of the impact. Well, unsurprisingly, the red flags have flown, and Carl Swift is your first winner of the season. And he wins the TCR-UK element of the race as well. Alex Day is second and wins in TCT, with Sonny Wong on the podium on his debut. James Turkington and Guy Colclough round out the top 5, whilst Ollie Taylor is a non-finisher, and Henry Neal disqualified for that contact.
Well, Carl, last year you had possibly one of the worst weekends of your racing career. Today, handed to you on a plate.
Absolutely. It was a good race as well before that. It's a shame it ended how it did. Those NGTC cars have got some brakes. So it was good exits out of the corner, but as soon as you get into the braking zones, if you weren't defending, he was under.
Obviously you were behind the accident, so you didn't know much about it, but you must have come round the corner and thought, hang on.
Well, I came down the straight as they were impacting into the barriers. It looked quite a big one, so I hope both drivers are okay.
It was a heck of a race from us watching it. Inside the car, how much hard work?
Well, I'm dripping in sweat. It's so hot in one of them. Yeah, first podium at TCT. Yes, this is the first race, but yeah, hopefully more to come.
Sonny, well, you were hoping for podiums before the first race, and you got one straight away.
Yes, it's not the best way to get a podium, but still, I think it's a good effort for everyone, for the team. I got out of the race a little bit slow because of the wheel spin, but then later on during the race, I found a good pace of the race car. So if I can get up race 2 immediately and pick up the pace, I think it will be a good fight.
Well, we thought we had our race winner, but it all changed on that one pivotal moment at the end where Henry Neal and Ollie Taylor came together, and that handed the victory over to Carl Swift. What an incredible race. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we hope to see you back here for the second race from Oulton Park.